Welcome to another episode of Sub-Auteurs. Today's episode is going to be highly emotional. We are going to get animated and we may be turning a little bit red. We are your hosts, of course. I'm Misha.
I'm Mai.
And I'm Anjo.
And I was being super subtle about what we're going to review today.
I'm
Red.
blue, dabba-dee-dabba.
Turning
wrong song.
color movie. Roll the credits. Today, we're going to be talking about the 25th feature-length animated film from Pixar Animation Studios, distributed by Walt Disney Studios. It is called Turning Red, and it is something that we haven't quite seen before. It's set in the early 2000s in Toronto, of all places. Nothing particularly exotic or magical, considering the movies that we've been seeing the last couple of years. But this is a story that's very much unlike any other. We're talking about a coming-of-age story of May, who becomes a giant furry red panda when she gets overly excited. And her relationship with her mother, who she's learning might not have all the answers necessarily. What did you guys think about this movie?
Trauma.
What happened to you in Canada?
I became a panda. No, yeah, that was a secret I've been keeping from you guys, actually, which is why I am MIA when I get emotional. No, just kidding. No, it was just watching the film made me uncomfortable. Not because it was bad. It was actually really good, and it hit the right spots in terms of like entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the usual Pixar characteristic of like tugging at your heartstrings, but it was too goddamn familiar to me.
Ooh, okay.
I mean,
like the whole mommy issue thing. I'll get to it later. But it was just like I was so uncomfortable.
Okay, but just so we're clear, you don't transform into an 8-foot tall red panda when you're upset.
Unfortunately, not. I wish I did.
Okay, just so we're clear.
Yeah, like I'm not. It was familiar. It's somehow relatable also. You know, it being a coming of age story. Everybody has that story, and as Mai mentioned, it can be traumatizing for some. It is very familiar. Like there's certain themes and concepts about, you know, a mother-child or, you know, a parent-child relationship that people will be able to relate. It's not very specific, you know. There are things that are very specific, but, you know, there's so many broad strokes about it that just seems vaguely familiar. And I think Pixar, being Pixar, just, you know, hit it out of the park this time around again, because they've been on a roll with their past 3 outings, I think, you know, with Luca and Soul. Like everything's been crazy good with Pixar.
I agree completely. I fell in love with these characters and this world. I mean, okay, yeah, I fell in love with Canada, I guess, but I liked that it was giving us a glimpse into something that we don't always necessarily see in our coming of age movies. In this case, it's the coming of age of a young girl, and that's really something you don't always see, especially in an animated film. So kudos to them. Sorry.
I actually saw this meme about a lot of animated features touching on family/generational trauma, which we've also talked about before, which was Encanto. And now here's Turning Red. And I feel like it's because it's our generation, like the millennials, are now somehow the ones who are at the helm of all these animation studios, because we're at that working age already, where the studios are probably also like have a lot of millennials who can relate. So I feel like this is our generation airing out our traumas in a nice creative way, but then I feel like it's just so relatable to us particularly because of that.
I agree completely. I love that now we can use different genres, different mediums to tell stories that otherwise would have been glossed over or just, swept under the rug in favor of traditional fairy tales and happy endings. When the story starts, we meet May. She's your stereotypical straight A student, child of immigrant parents, doing everything to make her mom and her dad proud and live up to the family traditions, to live up to family honor. And that means she doesn't get to spend a lot of time with her friends. And they're all the biggest fans in the world of this boy band, Four Town. Do you guys
Four
remember
Town!
what you were listening to in the early 2000s? Were you this crazy?
Eminem.
Eminem is not a boy band.
You asked me what I was listening to back in the early 2000s.
That's fair. I guess I should have asked somebody who actually was a teenage girl in the early 2000s.
I don't know. I was crazy over actually more of the girl bands. I was a girl power kind of person. So I was all about Christina, Britney, the soloists. But actually, I feel like I'm getting into the boy band thing late. I may not be a teenager anymore, but I am still fucking crazy over BTS.
Nice.
I'm not even ashamed to say it.
What?
Like, Therefore Town is my BTS, and I'm sure a lot of people, no matter what age, can relate to that.
Nice,
Like
nice, nice.
my wife. But
Yes.
I did remember my wife telling me a story that they caught the Backstreet Boys concert here, and she literally, her friend tore her Nick Carter poster while watching the Backstreet Boys while
What?
screaming, Nick, I love you. So she held up the poster that whole time they were performing. So I guess I have an idea of what, like a boy band crazy high school, middle school girl would be like.
Oh yeah, I was kind of like crazy over NSYNC for a time too, I guess. But not as much as... Why am I aging backwards? Bakit parang mas nabaliw ako sa BTS?
Well, ang dami rin naman talaga ngayon. BTS is the new thing because I have friends other than you who are aging backwards because of the Bangtan boys or whatever they call themselves.
Bangtan.
Bangtan.
Oh my
Sorry.
God.
Sorry.
Anyway.
I'm not getting involved in this argument. Let's move this discussion along.
But either way, boy band, girl group, soloists, we all know how it is to be a fan of something. It doesn't even have to be music. It could be like, I don't know, sports or wrestling.
Sports ball.
Sports ball.
Sports ball. The plot of the movie really gets going when one day May wakes up and she discovers that she transforms into an 8-foot tall, super fluffy red panda whenever she's in a heightened emotional state. And this leads to one of the best sequences, in my opinion, in the movie, where her mom tries to supplement her with every menstrual aid known to man. Like, her mom's got a hot water bottle, she's got napkins, she's got tampons, she's got like painkillers. She's ready for this moment. And what really sells the scene for me is that she's trying to give her kid all this stuff through the bathroom door, and the dad just wisely steps aside.
This ain't my turf. But yes,
No expertise.
even if they don't explicitly say in the movie that May actually has gotten her period, it can somehow be interpreted as that. Like,
Yeah, that's what I totally got.
turning red. I mean, panda.
Red.
She turns into a red panda. I mean, maybe it was in a way personified. Well, technically not a person because it's a panda.
Pandified?
A
Pandified.
Animalfied? Pandified? Let's just call it pandified. So
Pandified.
it can actually be interpreted as a little girl getting her period and hence coming of age because it opens up an entire new world for girls whenever they actually get their periods, because this is when they are dubbed as, oh, you're a woman now, you're not a little girl anymore, you have your period, that kind of thing, which is actually nice of May's mom to be ready for this moment. It's actually the day moms kind of dread for their daughters. At least that's what my mom told me when I was growing up. And she's like, oh, like I can't. When I didn't have my period yet, she was like, oh, I don't want you to get your period. That would mean you're like all grown up and stuff. And when the day actually came, she cried. She actually freaking cried. So May's mom handled it very well, in my opinion.
Speaking as someone who clearly was never pandified. I just need to ask you, like, so you thought it was handled well, this scene?
Yeah. Well, although you can already tell from the start when you get to meet May's mom she's actually a typical tiger mom. You know, she's the boss lady. She's very strict. She expects you to be home at a certain time. You know, she
Mhm.
has these expectations for you, and she's always there. She's like so overbearing, and it's embarrassing to some degree, unfortunately for me. But at that moment, I think I think it just really depends on how you, as the person who has just gotten this period, how you want your mom to explain it to you. Because like some people might find it awkward. Like May's mom's approach might have been awkward for some, but for others, maybe it's like it's okay. I actually appreciate this kind of information. So it really depends on your dynamic with your mother, I guess, on
That's
how
fair.
this momentous event should be handled.
I
Absolutely.
guess because I don't know, like maybe if it was the actual pandification, not the magical pandification, it would have been a different conversation, judging by the relationship May had with her mom. But
Yeah.
I don't know, like because talking to my wife about it, she said like it was relatable. Like it's something that she didn't want. I guess for something that these are not my words, but it's something that some people may handle differently from from others. 'Cause
Mhm.
I, for
I-
one, would have appreciated May's mom's approach to this because she
The
laid out the options, like so many options. Like, and I'm sure if May gave her the chance, she would have explained the hell out of everything. And I personally would be okay with that.
So, okay, let's look at the other aspect about the film, which I also appreciated. This was the cultural aspect. I mean, it's one thing if you're watching like a rat that can do fine dining, fine cooking, or you're watching toys that can talk. But here we're talking about Asian immigrants. We're presenting them in from what I could tell from my experience and from my knowledge. I mean, it looked pretty accurate and respectful, and not in a window dressing kind of way. I felt that the fact that the director, Domi Shi, she directed Bao for Pixar previously, that short award Academy Award winning short film, and she was using her own experiences as an Asian Canadian growing up in Toronto. So, what did you guys think about that whole Asian cultural aspect?
I think she did it. I mean, like I think she was able to tell her story well. I mean, like she would have more authority than us because she grew up there. We are just she just opens up to us about what her experiences were like to some extent. I'm guessing it wasn't as magical as this, but like we fully understood what was happening, and I like the fact that her friends were also members of families of immigrants as well, because she had an Indian friend and I think a Vietnamese friend,
No, angry Korean.
angry Korean friend.
I love angry Korean friend.
Yes.
Because we couldn't, but my Posh and I couldn't tell from the accent just because she was always angry or super intense, just so fast.
I loved her for that.
But she was my
I really
favorite.
did.
She really-
Yeah, Abby
It
was
was fun.
awesome. I love that the film was able to show us like this blending of worlds, how this very traditional culture is clashing with her modern Toronto sensibilities, and a lot of that I
Yes.
think came through with the kids. And I
Mhm.
love that they were just kids. It wasn't
It-
trying hard to sell us that they are young people. They were just acting like
It-
kids.
It's perfect because I talked to my sister's fiance because he's a Filipino, was born and raised in Toronto in
Mhm.
Mississauga.
Mhm.
And he would tell us stories about what it was like growing up there, and his cousins would just laugh at people about laugh at like Filipinos there just because saying you could really tell who the Filipinos were. This is not like it's not about like singling out a particular community, but it's just speaking from the experiences of somebody who came from an immigrant family. It's because like they had a neighbor or a family friend who they would place bets on how they would react, and they would make fun of it because like check this out, they would do the whole Filipino pointing with the mouth thing, and they would actually do it just because like there's certain things like immigrant families can relate to and can make fun of when they make fun of certain things about their certain heritage. And it shows in this movie by the conversations that we see with May and her mom. And I think Domishi really hit the nail on it this time around. It was perfect. Gave us a really good view of what it was like for her growing up in Toronto.
Apparently she took a lot of it from, again, like from our own experiences, whether it was, looking after a Tamagotchi or fangirling over the latest boy bands or having Timbits with your breakfast. Something that was really nice to be highlighted also, and I think you can see this in her drawings, May is somewhat of an anime fan, and I think that seeps into the execution a lot. What did you guys think?
Oh yeah, like those moments where their eyes would turn like really big and sparkly and or turn into hearts and they or in general expressing emotion, which this film is generally about anyway, since she does turn into a panda when she does express extreme emotion. And I think that style of animation is perfect for that kind of thing because anime, we've known them to be like super expressive. At least, the visual cues are crystal clear. So yeah, that was a good approach.
I liked it. I was just surprised to be seeing that kind of treatment because you don't really see a lot of that in 3D. We've seen a lot of 2D animation growing up, but to see anime translated into a very much Pixar world, it was refreshing. Honestly, I liked it.
Mhm.
We live in 2022 where things are interconnected or intertwined with each other, and this is one of those things that are what we can consider a perfect mix.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is a perfect mix. It's not like completely anime-fied, but you can still tell that it is a work of Pixar.
Absolutely. I mean, I was looking at the May as the red panda, and I just wanted to hug her.
Me too.
Seriously.
So did her classmates.
I saw a post on Twitter that said that the most accurate thing about this movie is that a building full of middle schoolers would not run away in horror from something that flew feet.
Exactly. That's true. I would run towards it and try to hug it and
Damn
never let
straight.
go.
Especially if it looked like it was more afraid of us than,
Oh, you would go and comfort the giant monster
Yeah.
because he's so
It's not
fluffy.
a monster. It's a panda.
red
Giant one,
panda.
but still a panda, not a monster.
But red pandas aren't supposed to be huge, though. They're supposed to be small.
Yeah, they're like little, like fox size,
Mhm.
Yeah, fox-sized
but they're so cute.
So I want a red panda toy.
they are.
I want a plushie.
I saw that I think Mattel has a line now of May dolls where you can put her into like a panda costume, like a mascot suit to simulate her transforming into the panda.
Well, that's
As long-
cool.
As long as it's not cardboard like she tried to pass off.
Which is kind of adorbs.
Mhm.
If you adorbs, can't believe I used that word, because
Adorbs.
It's
adorbs.
okay.
Just because, like, I think it, yeah, I mean, like, yeah, just, using adorbs just distracted me from my train of thought. But yeah, I think the whole cardboard costume kind of worked for me just because, she was supposed to be like the mascot of, just to see how devoted she was to her familial duties were in this
Yeah.
movie.
I think we're all in agreement that we really like the treatment and the overall execution of the story. Let's talk about the cast. I honestly thought that Rosalie Chang as May was excellent. If I'm not mistaken, this is her first big movie, and she's not annoying. She gets you on her side immediately. Like in the opening, when she's doing her little explanation of herself and who she is and what she does, that could have been super obnoxious. But I think she does a very good job in getting us on her side.
I
That's
think
true.
it was the energy she had because, like she really embodied this overachieving, hyperactive go-getter. And it really showed with, the voice acting. It was pretty good.
And to actually exercise the level of different emotions that May goes through, because the moment she does turn into a red panda, or maybe those moments where she has very heightened emotions, like really excited, really sad, really angry. And also, you see her through this phase of trying to control it. It's very believable in a sense that, especially when they were trying to give her the trigger test and everything, like showing lots of different things to try to trigger the red panda, put her to the test. But she just nails it because, yes, she's believable and absolutely not annoying and, in fact, relatable in my case.
Okay, stop me if it's going too far, but I'm curious. What was your pandification like from your point of view? Because you talked about how your mother reacted, but we don't know what your emotional state was like. You don't have to answer if it's uncomfortable. We can move on.
No,
An honest question.
I appreciate actually for one thing, I actually appreciate this film having this sort of symbolism for this event in a woman's life or in a girl's life, because a lot of times people are grossed out by this conversation. And I appreciate you asking me about this. Well, besides the fact that you haven't experienced it, but for us to be openly talking about it because of this film, because a lot of people might still see it as dirty or taboo, even when it's an absolutely normal part of a girl's life. Like, we go through it every fucking month, so it can't get any normal than that, you know? So I didn't really think of it as a big deal, personally. It was just like, okay, it's just different. I still felt like a kid. I still went on by my day just with the honestly hassle going through, this extra little hurdle every month with it came headaches, with it came having to use many different products that were so foreign to you, especially at the start. But I appreciate it being this conversation opener for this. And maybe for, people without uteruses to actually understand how taxing it can be, as this experience might have not been that much of a big deal when I was growing up. It could have still been a big deal for the mothers or the other girls who went through it. They might have really thought of it as this, turning point in their life. And that's all fair. All views on it are actually valid and fair. No matter how you look at it, whether it was a big deal to you or not, it's still something that shouldn't be considered as taboo or dirty.
I don't get why it's considered taboo. I'm raised by my mom and I grew up with a sister. I really did not understand why some people would think guys would be embarrassed to buy napkins for them.
People are stupid, dude.
Or maybe it's the toxic masculinity. It's something they don't understand or they don't want to understand because it's none of their business. It only matters to them when their girlfriends have it or not. You know what I mean?
Sometimes,
to me, it's
sometimes
so simple.
Sorry, sometimes it's moms and their friends also who perpetuate it. I mean, I know a friend who, her tita would give her hell, if she left a package of, of sanitary napkins, on the sink. It's so embarrassing. How can you do that? What kind of a woman are you?
I mean,
it's her bathroom, right? Dude. It's her bathroom.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of shame that's kind of ingrained in society. It's something shameful as opposed to something that should be completely normal.
It is. I mean, to me, this is my frame of thinking growing up. I understood it as a necessity for my mom and my sister. So it's just there. If I'd see it in the bathroom, it's just my my pimple cream, or it's a need. It's a necessity.
Just don't mix them up.
Just don't mix them up, of course, though. So I never thought of it as a big deal, to be honest.
Well, for that, I'm grateful.
I do, but it's still hard to talk about it sometimes because you never know how somebody might react to the topic.
And I think part of that comes with the stigma that society places on it. Yeah. And it's gotten to such a point that, there was this infamous review from Cinema Blend a few weeks ago that they pulled down because basically the reviewer said that the film was too narrow in its scope and it would only appeal to Asians from Canada.
Huh?
Or,
No.
he said he just couldn't relate to it. It's like Domi
I'm not
Shi
from
just
Canada.
made this movie for herself and her friends, and nobody else is going to be able to relate to this.
That guy's narrow-minded. Then.
Exactly. Like,
Yeah.
I think 99% of the movies we've been raised on, we had to try and find a way to empathize with a white dude, and that's none of us. But we
Mhm.
found ways.
Yeah.
It's just a case of somebody privileged enough not to adjust to something he's not familiar with.
Exactly.
Because I did mention earlier that for the most part, this movie in its broad strokes is super, super relatable. Again, it's just not about it's not about pandification is one thing. How it was used as a metaphor for your period, but other than that, it really was a coming of age story that we could relate to a lot. Like especially the part where she starts to realize who she was becoming and how she wanted to live her life, and how it clashed with the the traditions that her mom has been trying to instill in her all throughout. It's super relatable. Coming from a mixed heritage family. Like I'm third generation Chinese Filipino. So it's on that level I could relate. It's not the exact same thing because one, she's Canadian, I'm Filipino, but I could still find ways to relate to this movie. Whoever wrote that review is a dumbass.
I also
right in the
found
jugular.
ways to relate to this because I don't necessarily have an overbearing tiger mom, but for me, and I don't know how many people can relate to this. For me, in my case, it was my father really, who I had whose expectations I had to live up to, and who would never give visible approval, and who basically I know, and it took me a long time to realize that he really just had my best interests at heart. But when you're in it, when you're in the moment and you're being told to do things a certain way, or you're being told to do the chores, or that you got to do something, you don't really see it when you're there. It's only later on you realize, like, oh, that actually helped me become not a douchebag for the most part. And that's when you appreciate it. And I think that Sandra Oh as the mom does a great job at conveying that emotion.
Yeah.
She's not doing it to be mean.
Yes, you could although a lot of moments during the beginning, especially that time when she found May's drawings and started confronting the guy who had absolutely no idea what was going on.
That poor
Oh,
man.
Oh my god.
Oh my god! I hid under I hid
The
under the blankets when I was watching
I
that.
felt so bad for
I
her.
felt so bad for
Baby.
me. I mean, during the start, you would see how absolutely embarrassing it must be to, be this woman's child. And for a lot of the times, also, you could just see her stalking May through school, somehow looking like a creepy person, just like being there while May is at school, which eventually really triggers her panda.
Mm-hmm.
But Sandra Oh gives this performance in a way that you don't take it against her, especially in the moments when you meet the grandmother. Like
Mm-hmm.
the
Yeah.
reason why the mom is the way she is because of her own mother.
I like that she's scared of her.
I know. It's like it just like gave this, not just that scene, but Sandra Oh's performance also just like gave us that perspective. And
It's
just
Sandra
and
Oh.
exactly. And you don't end up hating the mom. Like I probably hated more on the abuela in Encanto more than May's mom here.
Yes.
Because I
I
understood
record-
her more.
I totally
Abuela-
agree. I totally agree.
Abuela had no powers and didn't contribute anything other than giving birth to children. That's the only thing she contributed. I'm not saying that's a minor thing.
Oof.
I'm just saying she should have gone easier on her kids with her
Yeah.
expectations. 'Cause, like,
Especially with on Mirabel, right? So
yeah.
you would understand what it's like to have no powers.
It's like, oi, abuela, do you have bionic hearing? Can you talk to animals? Can you bench press a donkey? I don't think so. chill.
Yeah.
But
It's just for the lack of a better word. Chill.
but back to Sandra Oh as Ming Lee as May's mom. At first I was a little bit apprehensive. I'm like, why is a Korean playing a Chinese woman?
Oh, right.
That was kind of odd to me because Koreans aren't the biggest fans, but I thought she played the role very well with dignity and all that, and I liked that. I don't know if you caught this, Anjo, but May's grandmother is played by Wai Ching Ho, who played Madame Gao on Daredevil,
Yes, I
and
caught it.
she's
caught it.
amazingly terrifying in Daredevil, and she's terrifying here.
Yeah, but then there were she's amazingly terrifying in this movie as well. But then there were certain parts you realize that she's a mom
Oh,
and she's only raising her kid the way she knew how.
that is true.
So
That
not
is
quite
true.
as terrifying as their Mrs. Madame Gao,
Madame Gao.
mystical old lady assassin who heads the triad.
I like that they got James Hong to play
Oh my God.
the shaman.
James Hong again.
He
The
is
guy who
amazing. He
played-
was in Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah, the adoptive father, the goose, the noodle making goose adoptive father of Poe.
Mm-hmm. Here he plays a kind of a shaman who says he would rather use Tony Bennett music, but his clients are old school, so they got to chant. But that's what I love about this movie. There's this clash of old school and new school, and neither one is shown to be superior to the other. This movie is talking about how it's okay for us to embrace the things that make us who we are. It's how we choose to get along that makes life bearable.
Yeah.
It's something all too familiar, especially like I grew up in a Chinese school where the community talks to each other a lot. So like little things get blown out of proportions, and you see why certain people try to tend to stick to traditions.
Mhm.
It's not very common to have people talking about somebody who's dating who isn't Chinese. But I'm of mixed heritage, so it wasn't really a factor for me. But I could see I could somehow relate to certain expectations that they had in certain disagreements that they would have.
Mm-hmm.
That was what I think did it for me, because I could relate to Domishi's experiences with that, because some of the conversations that she had, like, I want to do it, like when May would say that she wanted to live a certain way, because stereotypical tiger mom in most movies, it's mostly like, you have to be a doctor, you have to be a professional, you have to grow up into somebody who's worth something, like a lawyer or something. But then what about the creatives? Creatives don't really get a lot of notice from your traditional tiger moms or tiger parents, whatever you call it. So there was that.
And I also love the disparity between May and her mom, not just in terms of what's traditional and what's not traditional. You can see the very visible age gap or like generational gap that we probably also experience with our parents. Like, what music is this? What are these ruffians doing, like dancing and gyrating and, singing to children like this? That's also like the little details like that are just
Why
like,
are your
so
friends so
relatable.
weird?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but that was different though, because when my mom heard Eminem, she was like, "What is this?" That's a different reaction to pop music.
For me, it was like looking up to like Britney and the Spice Girls. My mom was always like, "Where are their clothes?" That kind of thing. Or like, especially maybe eventually when I got a little bit more into rock and roll, and she was like, "Ano ba, ingay ng music niya?
Uy.
Back in my day, blah blah blah, hindi kaya kaingay. Yung
I
rock
have a
and roll,
question.
Beatles na yun."
Because my mom grew up on Judas Priest, so okay lang sa kanya.
Oh my god.
Oh, good
Nice.
for you.
So I
Very nice.
actually found cassette tapes of Judas Priest from my mom. So there was that. But I have a question for you. Were you into Skechers? Since
Oh,
you
yeah.
mentioned you like,
Yeah. Oh, hell yes. I had
Like
those
what-
platform shoes. Even if I was tallest in the class. Like, my classmates would be freaking pissed at me. Like, tangkad-tangkad mo na nga, nagpa-platforms ka pa na. Bigyan mo naman kami ng chance. Parang ganun. But I was like, no. These are my Spice Girls platforms. I'm buying them. But I didn't buy them. But you know what? No matter how much my mom would comment about how skimpy their clothes are or like how she doesn't understand the music, she still bought the albums and the shoes and the clothes
Aw.
for me anyway.
Oh, that's nice. What I appreciated the most out of the film was the fact that you guys saw Raya, the Last Dragon, you saw Shang-Chi, where Raya was like just this hodgepodge of different Southeast Asian cultures, and somehow made kind of generic. While in Shang-Chi, it was more about validating the new school approach. Like, tradition is okay to discard as long as you're being yourself. But this movie shows us that the two can live side by side. You know, neither one is necessarily superior to the other. It's just how you try to understand each other. And I think for me, that was my main takeaway. And there's no better scene that encapsulates that than the big concert with Four Town.
You know what? That is surprisingly actually where I cried the hardest.
Okay. We're going into spoilers, but you know, if you're still listening at this point, you're all in. Okay. What set you off? What made you cry?
So this is the moment where May chooses to go to the concert. She actually rejects the whole ritual that could actually cure her of the whole panda curse or whatever. So it's on the same night as the big concert that they've all been saving up for. They made this scheme, this money-making scheme of May turning into a panda and like cash grabbing from all the kids who want pictures or videos or merch. You know, they worked so hard to get to that concert. But, you know, it happens to be the night of the red moon, where it's like the only time that May can like get rid of this power forever. But then when she's up to it, she decides to embrace it. And she's like, I don't want to let go of the panda because it's given me such good memories, or it made me feel
self-confidence.
Yeah, self-confidence. It made me feel like I found myself because of it. It's not a curse like probably my mom would have felt like it was. So May escapes from the ritual, angers her mom, and for some reason that little amulet thing that holds the panda spirit of her mom breaks, and mom turns into this scary, gigantic red panda. Even like, oh my god, how many feet was she?
Dude, she goes full kaiju.
I know, exactly. That is like full on kaiju red panda. Still fluffy, but scary.
I like how Asian dad was just like, oh yeah, she was big. But he doesn't say how fucking big that she got when she was mad.
That she was just so big that she was too slow. It's like, where is me? It's like, oh fuck. At that point I was laughing so hard. It's like, the mom is so fucking huge.
So yeah, she like totally trashes the concert, and the poor four town boys are still like suspended in midair from their number until like the mom starts like terrorizing the whole stadium.
Yep.
But this is where like the big fight happens. You know, May tries to stop her mom. The whole family's there trying to make a giant chalk circle, trying to get the ritual to take effect on the mother. So what personally set me off there was when the fight, obviously it gets physical, you know, things are destroyed, but it was when they were verbally fighting that really got to me, because this was where they suddenly started airing out their dirty laundry towards each other. This is where May is like, I'm sorry, I'm not perfect. I'm not that daughter you want me to be. And somehow you can hear from the mom that her disappointment stems, and this is not verbatim because like I was obviously sobbing at this point already and I can't really say it verbatim, but this is where she says like, but this is what I wanted for you. You know, I was parang lumabas na yung issues on why she was so overbearing towards May, because this is just what she wanted for her daughter, but it wasn't exactly what May wanted for herself, and it was more of a projection of what she couldn't have or achieve or what she would have wanted to herself, and she's projecting it to her daughter. And that that's where it hits me, because I'm probably not alone in this, and wherein we can often feel that our parents are projecting what they would have wanted for themselves to us.
Yeah,
Or
I totally agree.
I think also not just what they would have wanted for themselves, but every parent, I think, inherently wants their kids to have something better than what they had. And that was just an incredibly cathartic conversation for them to be having in the midst of, threatening thousands of lives and destroying, Toronto Sky Dome. But so I'm not gonna lie, I also cried. I was also laughing so freaking hard at all the craziness that was going on. So it was a very confusing emotional sequence. I was laughing and I was crying for completely different reasons.
Yeah, especially that part when like May was taunting her mom, like, "Oh, you don't like the gyrating? Well, I like it. I like loud music." And she's just like starts twerk. There's a twerking panda.
Yeah,
with the tail.
Twerking red panda. What am I looking at?
Exactly. I was just laughing so hard at that point. But yeah, she was all like, I like boys, I like loud music, I like gyrating. I'm like, she did not. Oh, she did. And she is. I see. Okay.
Yeah.
And I also got further emotional when the grandma and the auntie stepped in, and they all decided to just smash their talismans and revert to their red panda forms to try and calm down May's mom, because I think it was freaking hilarious that even the grandma was scared of her daughter. Honestly, every single one of them, every generation was scared of May's mom.
Isn't that like there was a mention in one of the scenes where May's mom says that she was once close to her grandma, and when the grandmother came back, we see that she actually has a scar. So that she got during May's mom's ritual. So that scar could be like a metaphor for a scar she had, or an emotional scar that she had, maybe because May's mom hurt her somewhere, at some point.
Yeah, because May's mom couldn't control her emotions. She's terrified that her daughter might not be able to either. That's why she just wants to get rid of it as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And that's what I appreciate. That's actually my takeaway. Well, one of the many. Besides like me reliving my trauma. My takeaway was that this is different generations' way of expressing their emotions, because May's mom, unfortunately, was raised in a generation where you should completely hide it. You should suppress
yourself.
it. Yes, it's just like so suppressed, which actually probably explains why her panda is like so big and scary and angry, because all those emotions can get bottled up inside you.
Right.
And it can backfire in the scariest of ways. And here comes May, who actually embraces it. These emotions, she learns how to deal with it, and she can actually moderate herself in a good way because she expresses herself. She actually finds herself while in panda form. So she's found a much healthier outlet for expressing that emotion, as opposed to what her mom has gone through, completely repressing it.
Yes.
Because
that
you
makes
could
so
see
much
that,
sense.
Yeah, because you could see that May tried to suppress it because, she was taught that, you can stop this pandaness. But you can actually see this is where she's happiest. Like, she was much happier just letting it go compared to when she was trying to hold it in. And God knows how hard it is to hold in your emotions when faced with a box of cute little kittens.
It's true.
So yeah, it's a much healthier way, I guess, for May to be able to express herself. So it could also be a metaphor for being able to regulate your own emotions and not
Or
necessarily
express
always
yourself.
just the period.
It's probably just like a good way of, like saying it's just generally better to express yourself as opposed to hiding how you feel. Just, because I was raised by my dad who would remind me at times, I would have those times where I feel like I wanted to cry. Like, let's say I felt bad about something and it just goes all of a sudden, don't cry, don't cry.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I was an adult where I realized how cathartic it is or how healthy it is to actually release emotion.
Yes, exactly. That's actually something I also experienced because my mom or my parents would also be like, don't cry or like, don't show those emotions. But I also found growing up by repressing or trying to completely forget about these problems, they'll just come creeping up in the most inconvenient or inopportune times. But I found myself learning more about how I think and feel by just like basking in that emotion for a while and accepting it as opposed to just sweeping it under the rug. And I guess that's what May experienced as well.
For
So this
me,
movie really has us digging a lot of stuff up.
Yeah.
yeah, I know. This is actually free therapy for all three of us.
At our listeners' expense.
So
Sorry,
y'all-
guys.
Or
Yeah.
maybe you feel the same way. Please let us know if you do feel the same way.
Yes,
We-
please,
yeah.
please justify this outpour of emotion. No, but I totally get what you're saying. Because again, my father was not the most expressive with us. When it came to sharing his emotions, he'd be there for fun. He'd be there for like serious stuff. But as far as expressing emotion, like just telling you that he approved of something you did, or things like that, that was just out of his wheelhouse. So I would go through like a lot of days just thinking he hated me, and I need my mother to translate what's actually going on. My mother is the one who tells me, "Oh, he's like this, but he's proud of you, whatever." Like, why can't he say it? So yeah, that's where I'm coming from going into this movie, and that's why I really appreciated that May and her mom were able to have that conversation where they could just tell each other how they actually felt.
And something that stuck with me as well was you mentioned that your mom would be the one to translate for your dad, and like
Mm-hmm.
she explained to you that probably like words of affirmation isn't your father's primary love language.
Yeah.
And that was also in a scene right here, right before the ritual, where May was also like, preparing. And her dad walks in the room after he finds this little video camera with her friend, footage of her friends and herself enjoying as a panda. And that's where he sits down and talks to her and explains explains why her mother is like that. Because who else would know your mom best but the dad?
Mm-hmm.
And there were things that May couldn't understand about her mom, but dad told her about how much she's been through with the grandmother. He told her how the grandmother didn't approve of him and how the mom fought tooth and nail
Yep.
to actually be with him. And the dad was like, "Yeah, I've seen her big scary panda form, but
It was big. It was big.
yeah, it was big." And everybody has their messes, but you take the good and you take the bad and you love them anyway. And that really touched me. Like the dad,
Yeah.
given that the mom's a tiger mom, you could obviously see in some parts that the dad's just like the type to like, step away. I'm just gonna mind my own business. But when it
Mhm.
comes right down to it, he was still there. And that was such a heartwarming moment for me.
I also
Yes.
love that the dad is there for amazing food shots. Like,
The
oh
dad
my
is-
god, I got hungry watching him cook.
Yeah. That was. Yeah, I craved for Tim Ho Wan actually.
Oh, and don't you love that little homage to Mulan? That the porridge with the egg eyes and whatnot.
Mhm. I was fascinated by the fact that they had Timbits in the center of that breakfast table because I do love me my Tim Hortons donuts. Okay, we've talked about the performances, we've talked about the themes and the sequences that resonated with us. Can we talk about the music by Billie Eilish?
And her brother Phineas.
Yes. They just won an Academy Award, by the way.
Congratulations
For their work on No Time to Die. You can check out a review also on this channel. But they wrote all the boy band stuff for this movie,
And
and I
Phineas
thought
was
it
one
was
of the members.
What? You're serious?
Yeah, Phineas was one of the guys.
What was he? Aaron Z or Aaron T?
I have no idea. I'm not related to Aaron T though. Mm,
But yeah, actually, I completely forgot about that fact. You guys mentioned it. You saw Red, Turning Red before me,
Mhm.
and you already mentioned that. Oh, Billie Eilish and her brother did the music for this.
Mhm.
And watching it, I completely forgot that it was them until I saw their names in the end credits. And
Yeah.
that was a shock to me because I did not feel an ounce of Billie Eilish or Phineas
Yeah.
in the music, which I
Yeah.
guess is good for them because they have range.
I think
And
they
I
tapped into their
believed it.
childhoods.
Yeah,
They-
and I believe it as like a early 2000s boy band song.
Mhm,
Totally.
mhm.
It's got
This
that
thing got the
R&B vibe.
sound.
Yeah. And the runs of the lead singer and whatnot. So it was totally different. And I guess good for them because I did also read afterwards that it was the most fun Billy and Phineas had writing. They
Oh,
did
nice.
say.
I,
Yeah.
I have a question though. They're called Four Town, but there are 5 of them.
The mom also asked that. Actually, why? Why
Wonder
are they
why.
four towns?
Maybe the 2 Aarons came from the same town, so they're just 4 towns. I don't know. That's a stretch.
It
but
is a
yeah.
mystery, but yeah, I could see myself probably going gaga over a similar band. So
You are going gaga over a similar
Yeah, why are we
band.
talking in the past tense?
okay, yes, Jungkook get well soon, Hobie get well soon.
There
I
it
love you so
is.
much.
There
What
it
the hell?
is. Should we
They
end
have
up?
COVID.
They
Stop it.
do all
Wait,
of them?
they? All of them?
Hobie and Jungkook as of this moment.
But
as
you
of
only want
recording.
Jungkook to get better?
I said Hobie too. How dare you? I love all of
Okay,
them.
I'm just checking. I'm just checking.
Who's
as far as-
Hobie?
J-Hope.
Oh.
Well, the others also had COVID in the past, but they've recovered. But right now, it's Jungkook and
I
J-Hope.
see. They were
So-
also in the Oscars for like 11 seconds. They explained what their favorite animated movies were. It was kind of cringe. It was just, they were just K-pop baiting again.
Yeah, I hate it when they do that.
Yeah, kind of
It's just
like
so
yeah.
shameless.
It's like how they put BTS at the end of the awards shows just so people would stick around and watch.
Mhm.
It's also kind of how they put them in Friends. It was just the one guy talking about it.
It was just RM talking. That's not fair. Anyway.
One of the Forton members was supposedly inspired by BTS.
It's
The
Taeyang.
Asian one. Exactly, the
His
Asian
name
one.
is Taeyang.
I'm
and
not
there-
being racist. He's the Asian one.
There is the band member in the movie is Taeyang,
Mhm.
Young, I guess, and there's a
Mhm.
member of BTS named Taehyung, which is
my
Anja's
wife's
wife's
favorite.
bias. Yes.
Of course.
You
But
should
I-
see
I-
her workstation.
Oh, you should
Like-
see mine.
No, but then it's a picture of Taehyung, our kid.
Oh,
None
there we
of
go.
me.
She's showing us pictures now for
Oh,
those of you
okay.
listening.
Nice. Oh, and she's not stopping, guys. Oh,
Oh, she has a bobblehead. She's got a thing.
oh my God.
Anyway, yes, enough about BTS for now. Dun dun dun.
But
I also
For
have
now.
Itzy Anjo. What are you talking about?
Ooh, I like that.
okay. She's got pictures. She's got cards.
Anyway, sorry. I mean, there's nothing that can encapsulate teenage craziness as much as being obsessed over like something like a band or a TV show or comic books or movies, so that it's a pretty good representation of how kids are. And
I-
that they even make up with the school bully through this fandom and they became
That's
instant
right.
friends.
And even the dad was a fan. If you-
It's so adorable. That's also an aspect that people sometimes underestimate with fandoms because you get so much closer with someone when you share the same fandom, right, Anjo? It's
Yes. Itsy.
Anyway. But yeah,
I'm just going to
Itzy.
stand off to the side.
whatever. That's we all love movies. That's why we're here.
That is true. That is very true. When you mentioned earlier how it's now, millennials who are taking charge, making media, making content now, and the entertainment that we watch, I think that also ties back into what Anjo said in that crying can be cathartic, expressing your emotions. And I think, look at the last few movies that all of us have been watching. We saw Encanto. We saw Ghostbusters Afterlife. We saw Spider-Man. We saw turning red, and each freaking one made us cry. I mean, what the hell, Hollywood? Why are you doing this to us?
I still
What?
did not expect to cry in Ghostbusters.
I also did not expect to cry at Ghostbusters.
You know, when you say when you say you're going to watch a Disney or Disney Pixar movie, you know, like there's a 95% chance that you're going to cry.
Like the beginning of Up, son of a bitch.
That caught me off guard, though.
Oh my god.
You expect to cry somewhere in the middle, towards the end, not in the first 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm. But whoa, I was not informed.
I feel like I just think it's different now what the audience is looking for in their films, because maybe some forms of entertainment or animated features in the past were kind of aspirational. You know, there were princesses, you know, these are the people we wanted to be like. So there were princesses, you know, lots of fantasy, or well, in my case, princesses. Maybe in your guys' case, superheroes. But
Thank God, I thought you was gonna say Beast.
no, superheroes. Maybe in your case. So this was what, you know, people wanted to be like, with maybe a little sprinkle of lessons here and there, which we ate that shit up when we were younger. But I guess now people are more inclined to make things relatable than actually be showing you something that you'd want to be or achieve, but something you're already experiencing, something you can actually be able to identify with. And not just in terms of story, like even inclusivity in general. More and more people or kids are saying like, hey, I'm seeing myself on screen, and that's great. So I guess that we're just in that sort of phase right now. Era or phase where we want to see ourselves on screen, or we want to see ourselves in whatever we're watching, so we're able to relate to it.
That's interesting. That's a really good take. I legitimately have nothing to add to that. I get, other than to ask you guys, is this a film that you would recommend?
It's Disney, so you know, I grew up watching Disney movies, and I would die recommending Disney movies.
I don't know why, but this particular Pixar film hit me like really hard, just as hard as Soul probably, because these are things I'm currently going through. Like even at my ripe age of 30 plus, I'm still having issues with my mother. So just be prepared. As in, if you were being hit by Pixar films or these sort of heart-tugging animated features before, you better be fucking ready for more tears here on out, because that's what that's the business they're in. They already know what makes us cry. They already know what makes us be able to relate to things.
It's consistent.
Yeah, so it's just, yes, I would absolutely recommend it. And I wish I had this movie growing up to show to my mom.
Well, you can show it to her now.
For her to learn some, learn some things and maybe say sorry for some things. But my issues notwithstanding, yeah, it's definitely something you can learn from and embrace. Woo, this is hard to talk about. Sorry. The trauma is coming.
While I couldn't entirely relate to everything that was being discussed, I actually get to see, I mean, present tense, I get to see a lot of this subject matter, and I get to talk about a lot of it with Deng, of course, because, you know, my girlfriend is Chinese, and I see her relationship with her mom. In fact, as soon as we got back from the premiere, she's telling her mom's like, you got to watch this. We're watching this together. and they did. And her mom pretty much gave her the version of the speech from the movie where she says, you know, I mean, basically, you know, if I've pushed you and all that, and if you were trying hard to please everybody, then I'm sorry for that. And I was blown away. I was absolutely blown away from that, because I was of the belief, I believe in that meme, the one that says the most fantastical element in this movie is where the fact that the Asian mom says sorry. And yeah, I apologize, Dang, if I'm oversharing, but I thought that was a really powerful moment. And I was amazed. And if an animated movie can bring out that level of authentic emotion, then then I absolutely wholeheartedly, everybody, you all have to see this movie. Honest, that's where I'm standing on this. I love Turning Red, and damn it, Pixar, you made us cry again.
Great.
I also want to say that not everybody, I guess, not everybody has the privilege or luxury to actually have a parent that listens.
Mm-mm.
So whether or not this wait.
No, it's okay.
Sorry guys, sobrang bigat kasi ng film sa akin.
It's okay.
It's
Love you.
okay.
Take your time.
Well, I'm really happy for Deng that she was able to have that moment with her mom and that her mom understood. And maybe I'm not sure if I'm in the position to be able to tell her what I want to say through this movie, or maybe some other people won't either, because there are different levels of strained relationships out there. And it's not necessarily going to go as smoothly as what might have happened in the film or what Deng has experienced. But what you can take away from it is that at least, even if maybe you're not able to fix that certain relationship you're pining to fix, just know that it's okay to be yourself. If that's what you can pick up from it, at least just be who you are. Don't apologize for it, because nobody else can tell you who to be but yourself.
Damn straight.
There was also this part in the movie where May was able to actually stay calm or not explode emotionally because she was thinking of her friends.
Yes.
And I think that's also very important to have. Besides knowing who you are and who you want to be and just going for it, find yourself that support group that keeps you grounded. Because these girls, they are an amazing group of friends. And so it was a little bit heartbreaking to know that the mom was expecting or thinking that, oh, it's me she thinks about when she's, wants to calm down. But unfortunately, it's not. So there will really be times that maybe your family isn't your blood relatives. Maybe you will also find family in your friends or the people you meet along the way.
Absolutely
so it's also
true.
important to value those relationships. And it's okay to find family outside your family.
I totally get that.
Yes, I understand that. Is it what kids these days call it finding your tribe?
Yeah, exactly. So find your
Or-
tribe, be yourself, and it's okay if there are other strained relationships out there. Just you do you and do it with the people you love.
Definitely. Whether or not you're blood related. That makes so much sense.
Yeah, so there.
Wow, this episode gave us a lot to unpack, and I don't think it's going to be the last time that we'll be discussing these issues. Clearly, we have a lot of things we need to work through. Let us know in the comments or in our Facebook group. What did you guys think about Turning Red? Are you as emotionally scarred as we are, or more?
I'm never watching it again.
Did you guys cry? Did you guys transform into anthropomorphic furry woodland creatures when you first got your first pangs of adolescence? Let us know. You can find us on Facebook and on Instagram at Sub-Auteurs Podcast. We also have a Facebook group, Sub-Auteurs We Like Movies. Drop us a line. We are always excited to hear from you. Until the next episode, we are the Sub-Auteurs. I am Misha.
I'm Mai.
And I'm Anjo.
And we are signing off.
This may be the last Disney Pixar episode we will be doing for a while.
Yeah,
For our
we need
sanity.
a break. I
Yeah.
mean, come on. I started I'm sorry, I didn't know the song, that I didn't memorize the song Billie Eilish wrote, but I just ended up singing a song by my current favorite boy band, and that makes me feel better.
It's okay. But really, I'm with Anjo on this one. This movie made me hungry for Chinese food.
Oh, yeah.
I want xiaolongbao.
Yes, exactly.